You're wondering what book we're going to be talking about today? It is a Sarah J. Maas book. Hey everyone, it's Kayla and welcome back to my channel. So this past week has been a wild ride for me. I have delved into a book that has taken me on a roller coaster of emotions. I have laughed, I have cried, I have shouted, I have nearly thrown the book in the bathtub. So today is Good Friday. I'm kicking back with a cider. Take a seat, grab a cuppa, grab a beer, whatever you're in the mood for, and we're just gonna chat about my feelings on Crescent City. So yes, today we're going to be doing some kind of review book talk thing on House of Earth and Blood, Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas. I literally just finished this book like maybe a couple of hours ago, and I was super pumped to talk to you all about it because I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. I just want to read this book again and again, and I am over the moon with how much I enjoyed this book. We all know what Sarah J. Maas is like, and I, for some reason, just was not prepared for this book. So first of all, I will just quickly tell you how I rate my books. I don't think I've really said much about how I rate my books on this channel. That's because I don't usually do it too often, but when I do, I really do get in depth with it, and I do my rating system a lot of the time with books that I've been asked to review as well. So it's pretty simple. I pretty much just rate characters, reading time, so the time that I've spent reading the book, enjoyment, so how much I've enjoyed the book, style, so the writing style, and plot. I rate all of those out of 5 and then go back and divide it by 5, and then I get my average rating. So I tend to do this not too often, but when I do, I make a full-on review about it. But I really suck at reviewing because I tend to review the books either straight away after I've read it, or I give it a star rating and then I don't go back to it, you know. If I really did love it, I'll give it a proper review, and if I really didn't like it, I'll give it a proper review as well with constructive criticism. Like, it changes on when I'm in the mood for giving it the rating system. But for this one, I kind of will go into the rating system. I don't know. I finished it a couple of hours ago and I pretty much gave it 5 stars on Goodreads. So I loved it enough to just straight away give it 5 stars. But yes, so that's the basis of my rating system. I haven't really done it for this book yet. I just straight away gave it 5 stars. If it changes, you'll find it on Goodreads anyway. Basically, this book, if you have absolutely no idea what this book is and you are not a Sarah J. Maas fan, I recommend this book to people who haven't read Sarah J. Maas before, because she's written the Throne of Glass series. She's also written A Court of Thorns and Roses series, and they can be really difficult to get into. I know that a lot of people have had trouble. I myself have had trouble with Throne of Glass. I read the first and second book and then I DNF'd the third one. I will get back to it eventually, but I just was put in a reading slump by that book, and I've been told to push through that one and get through it, but you know, it happens. But yes, and I didn't like the third book in the Court of Thorns and Roses series, but completely different series, still sort of the same kind of themes, but this is so much better, so much different. It's by far my favorite Sarah J. Maas book. So this epic and crazy novel is an urban fantasy set in a fantasy world, if that makes sense. So urban fantasy is where you have a modern sort of world with fantasy aspects. So it's like the Mortal Instruments, how, you know, it could just be set in New York, but there's demons roaming around, that sort of thing. But this is set in a fantasy world that she's made up. So it's a completely different world, but it still has the same aspects of a modern world. So, you know, we have phones for communication, we have TV, we've got nightclubs. It's pretty much how our world works. But in this world, we have every magical creature you can imagine. We have fae, we have werewolves, we have shifters, we've got angels, we've got mermaids. It's just endless, and I think that's one of the main things that I love about this, because of the massive amount of magical beings that we have in this. So we follow our main character, Bryce, and she's a little bit of a party girl. She's a bit crazy, a bit wild, And it happens that one day her closest friends are murdered, and it really puts her in a downward spiral. It's an absolute traumatic experience for her, and it's just changed her in so many different ways. Then 2 years later, after these particular murders, she is sought after by the local police officers and detectives because these murders are happening again the same sort of way. So they need her assistance because she's connected to them naturally. And of course, one of the detectives is well, I guess you could call him a fallen angel. He's a slave, but he works under their legion. We have our fallen angel, Hunt, and he has to protect her, and they sort of work together to work out what the hell is going on and what happened 2 years ago, because it's kind of technically an unsolved case still. And through this investigation, she's thrown into a whole different world of betrayal and secrets and lies, and there's just a lot that happens. It's a little bit wild. But honestly, it is by far the best book that I have read this year. It may look intimidating because of how chunky it is, but I highly recommend it if you haven't read Sarah J Maas before. If you have read Sarah J Maas, either way, just jump into it because it's great. So that's pretty much the gist of what the story is about, and there is so much that happens. Like, you go into it thinking, oh yeah, I can see where this is going, I can see what's going to happen, and then you just get thrown off that course. Plot twists are thrown at you from every which way, and it's just mind-blowing. It hurts my head to think about, but it is so good. So roughly with my rating system, like I said, I gave it 5 stars on Goodreads, but if we're going to do the rating system, I'll just go through, I won't give them a rating, but I'll just go through each of my different categories anyway, if that helps you guys. But so first we have characters. I loved all of these characters, and there are so many characters in this story. I'm not kidding. Like, you think you know everybody, and then more characters get introduced, and it's just nuts. But there's so many characters, but for some reason, but somehow she makes them also individual. Like, you know who they are. I didn't get confused with any of the characters at all. Like, I knew who they were. They had their own personalities, and I didn't mix them up with anybody else. Bryce is a fantastic main character. She's so strong and so fierce, and she's definitely one of my favorite kinds of heroine. You know, she's flawed, but she's strong, and she admits her flaws. And then we have Hunt, who's a little soft cinnamon roll, and I adore him. He's so special and cute, and he is also very fierce and aggressive, but he's great. I don't know how else to describe him. He's just a sweetie, and I just want to curl him up in a blanket and just make him feel all better. And then we have all the different magical creatures. We have like the Fae King, and we have the kingdom of like the mer people, and then you have all the crazy werewolves who are, yes, pretty crazy. And there's just so many different creatures. One of my favorite ones is, I think it's La Harbour. I think that's how you pronounce it. She is like a fire sprite, and she's real sassy and cute and funny, and I adore her. But yeah, there's so many different creatures and so many characters. They're just a lot of fun, and I think she did really well at giving them their own personality so that you didn't mix them up. I think she did a really good job with that. Next, we have reading time. So reading this book took me a little over a week. It should have taken me less, but I did get distracted with other things like playing The Sims, and sometimes I just wasn't in the mood to read. Like, I was just too tired or something like that. But it wasn't that I didn't want to read exactly. It wasn't that the book was deterring me. It was just everything else going on in my life at the time, and I just was too exhausted to read. So it wasn't the book, it was just my personal life. But yes, I still think I did pretty good reading this 800-page book in a little over a week. So I'm pretty good with that. But yeah, it did take me longer to read it than it would with a normal book, because generally I read maybe 80 to 100 pages an hour, and I think it took me a little bit longer because it is so dense and the pages are very, very thin. So the reading time, it did take me a little bit longer than I hoped, but I was also kind of prolonging it because I wanted it to keep going, you know? Then next we have enjoyment, which if you can't half tell from my rambling, because let's face it, this whole video is probably going to be me rambling about how great this book is, but if you can't half tell, I really, really enjoyed this book. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that this was one of my favorite books of the year. Probably, and definitely one of my favorite Sarah J Maas books. So it was definitely an enjoyable read, and I could not put it down once I picked it up and started reading it. I didn't want to put it down. I know I had to, but I didn't want to, and I didn't want to finish it. Then we have the style, so the writing style of this. Obviously, it's a Sarah J Maas book. Obviously, I love her writing if I've read her books before. There's just something so captivating about how she tells a story. And sure, they have similar themes and relatively similar characters and like character story arcs, but it's a writing style that I love and that I enjoy and that I am here for. I am here for all of Sarah J Maas's stories. And then last, we have the plot, which, like I said, it was crazy from start to finish. And that's what I loved about it, because it wasn't just one thing. It wasn't just one basic plot. It was multiple little intricate details in this plot that kept you in the story. And it was just an up and down thing. It was just nuts. There was just so much going on, and like, you had the basic idea for the plot, but it just had, you know, so many different levels, and there was just so much going on in this story that it didn't get boring. You know, you kept being entertained, and there was nothing that was lacking. There was nothing that was lagging in the story, like, at least in my opinion, that I'm thinking about now, because I only just finished a couple of hours ago. But it was great from start to finish. Like, there wasn't anything that I can think of that was boring, and I thought there would have been, because it's kind of like multiple POVs, but we don't have, like, you know, the header of the chapter telling us whose chapter this is. It's pretty much just goes from one character to another, which I didn't mind. I like when it's set out like that. And I thought that I wasn't gonna like the Fae Prince. So one of the characters is a prince and his name is Rune, and I thought that I wasn't gonna like him with these chapters. I thought they were gonna be boring, because I just wanted to get back to Bryce and Hunt. But I actually really enjoyed his story. I enjoyed his plot. I enjoyed his character arc. He was a really good character, and I enjoyed reading his perspective. But it was really, really good, guys. I gave it 5 stars, like I said, and I know that some people didn't like it. Some people thought it was a bit meh, but in my opinion, I really enjoyed it. And sure, it's not going to be for everybody, but I definitely highly recommend it if you want to read something that's sort of urban fantasy, kind of gives you paranormal fantasy vibes as well. I'm going to stop rambling, because I know this video is probably just going to be a huge mess of me rambling, but I just wanted to get my thoughts out there before they just leave my head. But yeah, it's kind of a review. I don't know. More so just a ramble, but yeah. Anyway, so thanks for watching my little bout of rambling here. I promise that, you know, if I get my thoughts together, I'll write a proper review on Instagram. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I apologize for all the rambling that is in this video. It's probably going to come out as an absolute mess, but hey, that's me. I'm a mess. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll most likely see you in the next video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, the usual stuff, and yeah, bye.